Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishna Yevamos, Parakid Beis, chapter 12, Mishna Gimel, Mishna 3. Now, again, we have to bear in mind, before we read this Mishnah, the process of chalitza. There are three parts of chalitza. There is removing the Yevam's shoe. That's remove the wife of the deceased removes the shoe from her husband's brother, spitting in front of the Yevam. She spits in front of him, and she has certain verses that she is required to recite. That's the process. So now the Mishnah says like this: Chaltza v'rakaka. Let's say she removed his shoe, she spit in front of him, avalei kara, but she did not recite the verses. She's missing that part of the process. The Mishnah says chalitzasa kshera. Her chalitza is kosher. We're going to see that based on the pasuk, the verse by chalitza, that basically the actions that are needed to be done for chalitza are mandatory; they're essential. But what's not called a maisa, what's not an act, like reading, which is not considered an action, therefore that is not mandatory. That's not essential. So therefore, the Mishnah says if she removed the shoe and she spat in front of him, that's enough. Kara v'rakaka avalei chaltza. Let's say she recited the verses, she spat in front of him, but she didn't remove his shoe. Chalitza psula. Her chalitza is invalid. Because again, we'll see that based on the verse in the Torah, you have to remove the shoe in order to have a chalitza, which is why it's called chalitza, which means to remove. Now, chaltza v'kara. Let's say she did a chalitza, she read the psukim, avalei rakaka, but she did not spit in front of him. So in essence, we're missing an action here, right? The act of spitting is missing. Rabbi Eliezer says, chalitzasa psula. Her chalitza is invalid. You got to do it over again. Rabbi Akiva says, chalitzasa kshera. Her chalitza is kosher. Now, each one will explain his reasoning. Rabbi Eliezer says, the pasuk by chalitza says, "Kacha ya'aseh la'ish asher lo yivnes beis achiv." So shall be done to a person who will not build the house of his brother. Those are the words. So kacha ya'aseh, like this shall be done. Kol davar shehu ma'aseh ma'akiv. Whatever is an act is essential. So it breaks down like this. It says kacha, like this. Kacha means like this. This is the way you have to do it. That's the kacha. Then it says, ye'aseh, so shall be done. That means that the kacha, which means this is the way you have to do it, it's essentially this way, is regarding ye'aseh, regarding what is done, regarding actions. And therefore, that tells you that that she has to spit, she has to remove his shoe. Okay? And in our case, what happened here is, in our last case, she... one second. Right. She removed the shoe, but she didn't spit in front of him. So it says, Rebbe Lezer, you're missing an action. That's spitting. That's missing. And therefore, and that doesn't fit into kacha yaseh. So shall be done. Whatever is done must be done. And therefore, being that she did not spit, he says it's ma'akiv, it's essential, and therefore the chalitza is not kosher. Rabbi Akiva said to him, Misham Raya, you have a proof from there. Kacha yaseh lo ish. The pasuk says, so shall be done to the man. Kol davar shehu ma'aseh be'ish. Whatever is an act in the man, whatever act actually involves the man, that's kacha. That's what has to be done. So which action involves the man himself? The removing of the shoe. That's the removing of the shoe is essential. But spitting is not done. She doesn't spit on him. She spits in front of him. So that's not kacha yaseh lo ish. That's not what should be done to the man. To the man means directly to the person. And therefore, says Rabbi Akiva, the kacha which says like this is the way it has to be, is not just going on the ya'asa, on being done, but it's also going on what's done to the man. And since the only thing that is done directly to the man is the chalitza, it is mandatory. But the spitting that's done but not done to the man, meaning involving the man himself, it's just done in front of him, that's not mandatory. The reading, which is not an act at all, everybody agrees, is not mandatory. So therefore, at the end, Rabbi Kiva says that in a situation where, at the end of the day, all she basically did was remove his shoe, the halacha is it will then be a kosher chalitza. Okay. Now, again, continuing with the person who is now telling other people, publicizing what another person did against someone. So he says, the Chofetz Chaim has been talking about to make sure that when you say it, when you publicize it, when you say it over to people, you have to say it in front of 3 people, meaning it's going to get around, even to the person you spoke about. Because otherwise, you're looking sincere. People are not going to believe you. Okay, so yesterday we spoke about that if the person you're speaking about, you're afraid of him, then you don't have to publicize in order to get back to him. Just tell some people who you could, again, fulfill the conditions that there's something purposeful in doing so, and you can do it. Now, if the person who is telling now over what this person did, everybody knows is a person he does not show favoritism to anyone. And whatever he says, even if it's not in front of his friend, everybody knows he would have said it in front of him because he's not afraid. And he's also the kind of person that people know is a trustworthy person. You'd be allowed to tell what somebody did wrong to somebody else. And you know he's not going to accept your rebuke, and you're doing it for constructive purpose, even if it's not in front of 3 people. Because such a person who's not doing it in such a public way, people will not suspect him of being a backstabber, meaning, behind the person's back, you speak bad about him, but in the front, you show yourself as a friend, or to somebody not being truthful. People know his whole intention is just to stand up, to be zealous for what's true, and to help the person who's been hurt, and to degrade these kinds of evil actions in front of other people. But here, and what we wrote in the previous paragraph about the situations where you could actually not do it in front of 3 people, you got to make sure that all the conditions mentioned before are fulfilled, such as, again, the condition of that what you're going to say is going to have some kind of constructive purpose. The only thing missing in the conditions is the fact that you have to do it in front of 3, but all the other conditions, such as you tried beforehand to speak to me, did a lesson, and that your intention is for a constructive purpose, then you can go forth and do it not in front of 3 people. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.